Hi everybody, Tim Hughes here. I'm the co-founder and CEO of DLA Ignite. With me today is Professor Agnis Stibe, and we're going to talk about transformation and the transformation that takes place within individuals and how that impacts on people. Because I know that everybody says we like change, but in fact we don't like change. We like change happening to other people rather than on ourselves. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Before we go any further, Agnis, tell me where people can get hold of you.
Transformation Gateway. That's available on the internet, and that's a website which is transforms.me. So transforms.me, and you can find all about me and all about my work and all about sustainable change, which I call transformation.
And you've got a YouTube channel as well where you've got lovely. I mean, after we did the prep call, I went and had a look, and you've got some fantastic videos on there. Really, short, sharp. So it's not like 3 hours of stuff. It's some. So anybody that wants to learn about this stuff has got a great resource of free content that they can go and consume should they want to do that.
Thank you, Tim. And we both know what it means to put some effort into creating very interesting and attractive videos, and certainly with the one purpose, to help people to achieve what they want. And we're just opening it up for everyone to take it and use it for their own benefit. That's great.
So how did you get into this, Agnis? And how did you? I mean, I don't think we've had someone as grand as a professor on here before. So I'm humbled. But how did you get into this, and how did you go about getting into this transformational thing?
I think it's all about natural human curiosity. And I've been curious about how the nature works. How do I work as a human being, and how the things in me work, and how they work in the relationship with the external world. So this bridge between the interior, which is to some degree unknown for us, how the neurons work and how the memories are created and how the dreams are appearing in our minds, and then how we then are able to build the bridge between what we experience and the exterior, what all of the stimuli, all of the experiences, context change, everything. And we, to some degree, manage it quite well as a human beings, because we have created rockets and we have satellites in the space, and we have even more crazier missions like plugging in these chips into our skull and then directly connecting to our neurons through, like, having this, as the Elon Musk said, improving the data transmission speed between the verbal communication and that kind of thing. So when I look back to my childhood, I was curious about the nature so much that I was even doing my first experiments with the trees in the forests. And I was always onto my journey to uncover, to understand. And although my life journey brought me into very good education, which was computer science 28 years back, which was emerging, and I was like lucky to be on that. And again, because of the curiosity, many people would say, oh, computers, what's that? It's kind of a mystical, dangerous, just like people speak about artificial intelligence right now.
Today, yeah.
But it went there, and then I want to do the corporate job because I got the education. I got the first master's in computer science, and the second was MBA. And then I was working in the customer relationships, business development in the IT industry. But then, this time comes when a question arrives to you saying, are you happy? And if the question arrives, it has the implied answer. The answer is no. And then I was like, what is still making me curious? And I was always curious how we can help people change, because I was willing to change myself. And I was doing my earlier transformations partially subconsciously, partially consciously when I was at the age of 14, when I was at the age of 31. And then I decided, why don't I give it a try and go really deep into it, which means doing a PhD. That's the fastest and most efficient way to get the expertise into the subject that you're curious. So I went to do my PhD almost 10 years ago, did that in 3 years, then my postdoc at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, applying this combination of social psychology, technology design to urban space. And now I'm doing my professorships and continue being curious. What really makes and what really helps people change internally, and then how we externally can complement with the nice built technologies and architectures and different kind of interventions.
So what is it that makes people change? What Why do we change, and why do we resist the change?
There were 3 questions.
Okay, there were 3 questions. Yeah.
Let's start with maybe the change itself. And I wouldn't like to put it into perspective. Because people sometimes think change, that means I will resist and will not take this particular cookie. And that's a change. That's a tiny, tiny change. So I'm kind of not taking this one. But then that's a transaction. So you're just one-time event. And then the other event is more long-term, when you kind of say to yourself, I'm going to resist the cookies for the whole month of January. And this is what I call transition. And then it still is not sustainable, because in February you can eat cookies again. So therefore, transformation is geometrically as an arrow. And I call it as a vector, because it's aligned with the arrow at the end. So the transaction is a dot, transition is a line, and then we remove the biggest trouble that people have with the change, which is a deadline, which is some kind of a measurement. That's why if you have a gym membership, it doesn't promise that you're going to renew it, all those kind of things. And the major revelation that people should know about change, which means long-term change, which means transformation, is that if you set a deadline, if you set a goal, you put yourself in a psychological jail and you wait for it to be over and you to be released. And that holds you back from asking deep internal questions. Who do you need to become? Right. Because if you remove the deadline and you see it's eternal and it's infinity, then instead of realizing you're never gonna get to anywhere, any deadlines, and you revert the question back to yourself, and then you ask, who do I need to become? That's the answer to the question about the change. The next thing is why people think it's difficult. It's because the human nature, facing complexity around us and facing complexity inside of us, it's not very easy playground. But what I do, I really give people easy tools. And one way that I discovered what really makes the change, instead of being difficult, becoming practical, is realization that behind every decision, behind every choice is a thought, one thought. And this is usually what I project as this blue pen. This has been on my videos and on YouTube. Okay. I don't know when the pen runs out, I'm going to have a different color possibly. The color doesn't matter.
Prop, yeah.
So is it one thought? And if that thought is, I eat 1 cookie a day, people can have that thought. And they have these cookies and they eat every day 1 cookie. But then if you want to become a person that doesn't eat any cookies a day, there has to be a different thought. Because this one will always bring you to the jar of cookies. So, and the other thought has to be complete opposite of this thought. And then the other thought is, I'm not eating cookies at all. And if you do this transformation, you are a new person with the identity, I'm not eating cookies at all. And you have no intention, no desire, let's say, ideally, to do that. Why I'm saying this? Because this simplistic perspective removes a lot of preconceptions or biases or all of the other things that people usually are bombarded externally and internally about. Why should I do it? Cookies are actually good. These are calories and stuff like that. No. Leave it all where it is. The one thought is responsible for your decision making and your choice. Find it, then make an opposite, and then do this. I can explain later how to do it, but this is how to simplify the change and how to make it doable.
And I've done that myself. I know that I was told 10 years ago I needed to lose weight. So, and I would go into a conference or something, and there would be lots of croissants and stuff, which are, just the worst thing that you can eat. And I actually have this thing that I actually say I don't eat them. I don't eat them anymore. And whenever I see them, the thought that comes into my head is, I don't eat them anymore.
You did it. You did exactly that thing. And I've done it with myself. Even from the age of 14, which I mentioned, I was overweight. So people, when they see my pictures from my adolescent years, they cannot tell it's the same person. So if you go to my YouTube channel, you will see some of the videos with the childhood pictures from 2 years to 20 years, and you will see that there is this round smiley face with a white bread and jam happily. And I decided, I was in a summer camp, and I decided, every other student there was having this free hour after lunch. So there was the summer camp, you have some exercise in the morning, then the lunch, and then the afternoon. And there was this 1 hour. Everyone can do whatever they want. I decided I'm the person who goes to run. And there was this sports stadium, and the one lap was 300 meters. And I said, I'm the person who does 10 every day. And I just did it. And then my shorts didn't hold me very well. So these specific things that are holding the trousers were helping me to get kind of around with my weight loss at that time.
And is this what you see as the way of inspiring people to change?
The inspiration, the most fundamental inspiration that is accessible and always available for us is from other people, from examples of other people achieving. This is what I have been doing since my PhD, which is social influence, such a fundamental, scientifically validated instrument. And it's not only one form, it has multiple subdimensions. I studied all of those in my PhD. So social learning, social norms are the most, let's say, used forms of social influence, but there are competition, cooperation, all other things, which means whenever you see somebody similar as you and willing to go the same direction on the same arrow and a little bit ahead of you, you always can take it as an inspiration and say, oh, if other people can do it. And if it's not only one, if there are 20 on that arrow similar as you and moving ahead of you, and it can be also behind you. So you can look at those who are ahead of you and think, oh, if others can do, I can do it too. And then if there are people behind you, say, oh, I'm even like better than somebody else. So I can feel good about it, like boost your self-esteem. So the fundamental help is naturally built in our social fabric. It's other people. And technologies currently can expose and visualize in so many multiple ways and harness the social influence from all of the technologies and other technologies in the urban space as well. So therefore, first of all, internally, people realize it's not difficult, it's not mystical, it's practical. And the second, we plug in the most profound source of inspiration, which is other people achieving the direction or the movement to the direction that you want to go. And that's how it works.
Right. You talk in your videos about an inner magic. What do you mean by that?
I think the inner magic is when you remove all of the rational, intellectual reasoning or conditioning that has been layered over your instincts, over your nature, over the years. Whether you want it or not, you get some parenting, you get some schooling, you get some societal conditioning. And the magic happens when you become aware of this interplay between two parts of your brain. So the one that is really responsible for your instincts and your emotions and your feeling of what your body tells you. And the other is this rational part, which has been playing the role of king for the last centuries, because that helped us to build these rockets, right? And therefore, the magical moment happens when your awareness is elevated to the degree that you are able to do both. So you listen to your bodily bio signals. This food is getting me energized. This food is getting me sleepy. This substance that I'm using is actually very temporarily giving me happiness, but then it has this long suffering and then all the other things. And
Yep.
when you integrate that feeling with all decisions that you are making, you become the magician and you have the access to the multiplicity of your super machine, your biological and your intellectual one. So that's the moment of the magic.
And you talk about a transformational gene, don't you?
Right.
And what's that?
That's revelation that I came to note for myself, and now I'm speaking about to others, is because epigenetics is a specific domain dealing with genes. In 20 years, let's say they started and they realized that there is something more than DNA 50 years ago, but they really proved it 20 years back, saying it's not about DNA. DNA is just a sequence of genes that, of course, you inherit, and that kind of builds up your structure and your cells. But then your decision making and your environment is powerful to silence or activate some of those gene sequences in your DNA. So therefore, equal DNAs, two twins in different conditions might have completely different health experiences and completely different life experiences. So therefore, I realized that, number one, our genes can do different kind of things, and they are the basis of us. They have been with us through all of the evolution. So therefore, there should be some kind of, I don't say there are particular genes, but I'm saying that at the level of genetic knowledge and wisdom, there is awareness of what the change means. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. That's one. And the second is, if we take that as a concept, then the next is this part of the DNA, which I conceptually refer as transformation gene, activated or silenced? And there is only one way to silence, and there is only one way to activate it. And this is, again, to make it very simplistic so that people can understand. If this thought is, I cannot, that means you're silencing your transformation gene. And if this thought is, I can, then you're activating it. And of course, again, social fabric is there to help. You see the other examples, and the other people, well, through their examples, are shining that activated transformation gene, and the genes speak in their own language. Sometimes we even have this awareness, oh, something was different with my friend who always wanted to get less kilograms and the weight down, and now he got it. And there is something not about the weight itself, but about the person. And that means the transformation gene, the activated one, is speaking to you and saying, hey, you have it too. So if you want to change something, you have the same thing, you just need to activate it.
And so, is it for the people that are watching? Is there some sort of design framework that you think that they can get that can actually help them?
So number one,
they may need to go out and get a blue pen, of course, but
that was a nice one. So number one, it's the awareness, the change. You are the driver of the change internally, and you have the gene. And if you activate it, then you go. The first step of activating it is, instead of I cannot, I can, and you go. And the next is how to sustain it. And for that, I have this. Remember, I told about the vector, the line. So I have this one to show to everybody, and that's a very easy tool to use. And this is the green vector, which is a transformation vector. That's the line, and here you can have not as a goal, but as a direction, as a target where you want to get. And then there are this going off to the different directions, different other colors, so the yellow ones and the red ones. And if you would give me now a very practical behavioral challenge of anyone, yourself, your friends, whatever you have heard, and I will put it on how does it work here on the vectoral transformation.
That's amazing, and they can find more. There's more information on that on at least on your YouTube channel, isn't there?
Right.
There's also more information on that on transforms.me as well.
Yes. So those are the two locations. So maybe just to finish up with this one, I would give a very practical example. Somebody else already told me. Here, if people say, I would love to do 20 minutes of stretching in the morning every day. So that would be something that people don't do, but they would like to do. How does it work? Every morning when you wake up and do the 20 minutes stretching, you are walking on this green arrow, on the green vector, which means over time, whichever the time is, you will be the person who does it automatically. Yeah. To have it very practical, you need to list what is on the yellow arrow here, which when you deviate from it, which here can be 10 minutes a day, or 10 minutes every morning, and here will be 5. So whenever you do less than 20, you happen to be on a different one. And geometry speaks that you will never be where you want to get if you are changing your mind every day. So this is kind of keeps you sustain your chosen direction of where you want to go. And here it can be also 20 minutes, but every second day. And here will be 20 minutes once a week. And if you have that, you can have that with the stretching. You can have that with the eating habits on your fridge, and then with the brushing or flossing your teeth into your bathroom, or at work with the social media accounts. Do you open it or not? So that's the very practical tool to sustain your desired direction.
And is there anything else that you think that people should, if you're looking at change, and either from a personal perspective or big, is there anything else that you can share that you could help people with? A Rubik cube.
Yes, that's
I've got to get one as well as a blue pen. Yes,
this is the first time it appears. So you will never see the cube in my videos before. So you are the first one.
Ooh, an exclusive.
Yes, this is the prime time. It's like a
Agnis exclusive
premiere on Tim's talk.
Yeah.
Why I'm showing this? When I was a small kid, I had this. I loved this. I never was able to make it complete. Never in my young years. Now I can do it in less than 5 minutes.
Wow.
And
how did you do that? I've never been able to get it to work. I've never been able to do it.
And here is one of the most profound revelations I've got about our human nature. And why? Possibly because I already mentioned I had a computer science background and I have the MBA. So I have the human understanding to some degree and the computers. Why I'm able to do this right now, it's because there is an algorithm. And you only need to learn the algorithm, and it works every single time.
Right.
And that's the point. If you know the algorithm, what works for you, and you know the algorithm of your change, then you just make any change in your life that you want. And I've been practicing it, not only this. I also do this because it's really keeps your hand busy and your mind a little bit into the meditative state, because you think only about this for 5 minutes right now.
Yeah.
But the major revelation is, if we really understand and do those small changes and the small things in our lives, and we learn that algorithm of change making in ourselves, we just become the masters of change. We just start with one tiny thing like brushing your teeth after every meal, not only in the morning and in the evening, because this is what we do as a frequent behavior. We just add one more time, for example, after lunch. And we think, oh, I never did that, but now I can do it. And then maybe flossing. This is why I'm saying this, because this is what I'm doing. And I'm just becoming, okay, what's next? I got, again, curious what else I can do, because once I crack the algorithm, I don't say it's equal for everyone. What I'm saying, I encourage people to use the simpler tools that I showed previously and start to understanding and uncovering what algorithm works for them. I just got now into intermittent fasting, which was like, why and how? And it just works. So therefore, this is maybe something as a good takeaway. So first of all, it's practical. This is a simple things as changing one thought to another. Then for the sustaining the journey, go on the green vector, and remember, you look for your specific algorithm, because then once you get that, you just have it for the rest of your life. And that's something that never will be taken away from you. You will be the master of change and transformation for forever.
That is absolutely fascinating. Thank you, Agnis. It's really fascinating. Thank you so much for joining us today. Remind everybody where they can get hold of you.
The website, transforms.me, that's the gateway to the transformation. And there is a collection of my talks. There are 3 TEDx talks. There is a collection of the scientific literature. There is a possibility for you to submit your behavioral challenge if you wish. And there are other very interesting, there are upcoming events and all other the subsections. But then for people, you just can Google my name, surname, Agnis Stibe, and then YouTube channel is there. I'm on the most of the social media as well when I'm posting about the new videos coming out.
Fantastic. And of course, I've mentioned it before, your YouTube channel is really great as well, because I mean you know, you just explain things in a very simplistic way. And I think it's, you know, for people to get change, it's understanding the change in a simplistic way, and you just make it sound so simple.
And it wasn't right at the beginning. So I would encourage also for all of the people watching this, it's not that I born this way.
Yeah,
I became the journey. I really chose the journey of curiosity, and I directed the arrow inwards. While my first years in PhD and postdoc at MIT was all about the exterior, about the technology, how we can plug in the social influence in technology design and scale it up to the cities. And I felt, and again, I refer back to this magic internally was speaking to me. You know, you're doing a great job. You're building these technologies, these behavioral interventions, the changes happen. You can do it at scale, but it doesn't work with the efficiency that would satisfy something in me. And I was asking, what's missing? And the missing piece was what the change means internally, how the change actually happens inside of human being. And this is what I've been doing in the last year. And that's why these simplistic tools are now coming out, because I was curious why technologies are not that successful. It's because we are not giving rich and proper requirements and instructions for technologies. Technology is just an amplifier. If we give poor instructions, there will be poor amplification of the poor input. So therefore, I went to the direction inwards, find out how it works, and then give proper instructions to everyone individually, and then for technology designers, for product services, for communities and cities as well.
Fantastic! Absolutely fascinating, Agnis. I'm going to go back and look at some more of your videos. I'm going to do that.
Okay.
So,
Yes.
And thank you for joining us today. It's been fantastic. I mean, I learned so much by doing these things. It's just amazing. So thank you so much for joining us, and I'll see you soon.
Yes, and maybe one thing is sometimes people say, well, you do this whole interesting scientific work, and then sometimes people get into this delusion, oh, it's not applicable for organizations, or it's not applicable for business. Why? It's because your brain is trying to resist, because if this tool set is applied to your organization and to your business, big changes will happen, and big changes will require you readjusting that. So that's why I understand that people are intentionally or subconsciously diverting from accepting this as being applicable. I'm doing master classes for organizations and for businesses and for management, those who are really ready to be the leaders of change in this decade and for the future.
And that's something that we all need to master, because things have changed out so much over the last 3 months. It's becoming a little bit of a cliche in terms of saying how many years of digital transformation we've had in the last 3 months. But the fact of the matter is that we have. It just a friend of mine posted on Facebook that he went to a meeting on a train yesterday, and I went, "You went to a meeting on a train? How was that?" And it's like, do you do that? Well, 3 months ago, that's what we did. You know, it's amazing how much things have changed.
And these are just evidencing how we sometimes get trapped into meetings should be in a meeting room. And if we walk around with this, meetings have to be in a meeting room, of course, we will not find the examples of meeting outside of the meeting room. So it's just this simplicity. It's one thought. I encourage everyone to look at their stream of thinking and capture the liar. I also have another video about motivation is one of the biggest lies because it's external, and the other one is the internal liar. So there's a voice saying, "Oh, no. Everyone does it differently," and you have no awareness, but you just continuously adjust your liar to not doing anything.
Fantastic. Thank you, Agnis. It's been great talking to you.
All right.
Have a wonderful day, and we'll check out more of your videos. Thank you.
Perfect.